Good evening and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Wednesday, February 13th, and we'll start tonight's meeting with a roll call of your City Council.
Council members Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Entenmann. Erpenbach.
Here.
Jameson.
Here.
Karski.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Thank you very much. As we begin every meeting with a invocation or a blessing, and tonight we have City Council member Rex Rolfing will be leading us in prayer. And then after Councilor Rolfing is done, if you'd remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Councilor Rolfing.
As most everyone knows, it's Ash Wednesday, and the pericope for today is from Matthew. I'd like to read just a portion of that. Beware of practicing your piety before others in order to send them or to be seen by them, for then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. So whenever you give him alms, do not sound the trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogue and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father in heaven, so that your Father in heaven sees in secret and will reward you. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where where moths and rust consume, where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moths nor rust can consume, and where thieves do not break in and steal. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. In the verses today, the word piety is better translated righteousness. Jesus warns us against self-indulgence, that where our heart is, there our treasures will be also. During this Lenten season, we remember Jesus fasting and praying in the wilderness for 40 days before he triumphantly entered into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. Then his rejection on the cross, and finally his resurrection on Easter Sunday. Ash Wednesday today and during Lent, let us all remember to be part of this Lenten spirit of fasting, praying about who our righteousness really comes from. Let us pray. Dear Lord, please help us to remember our struggles during this Lenten season, helping us remember sacrifice and your sacrifice. Direct us during our service to you and Sioux Falls, and thank you for your love. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Rolfing, thank you very much. We'll continue on with our consent agenda. Council, any changes or motions?
Move for approval. Anderson. Second. Karski.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilors Jameson.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Now move on to item number, or our regular agenda. Council, any motions?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second. Anderson.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve our agenda for tonight, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Jameson.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Again, welcome to tonight's meeting. It's an opportunity for you to engage the council if you'd like. Please just come forward. We'd ask you to limit your comments to 5 minutes or less, and just introduce yourself to the people of Sioux Falls. Welcome.
Good evening. Greg Neitzer, Sioux Falls. I have a number of things in the Shea Places zoning ordinance I'd like to talk about, so I'm going to try to rattle them off in 5 minutes.
Thanks, Greg.
The first is at the informational meeting you talked about possibly deferring the second reading for a few weeks. I think that would probably be a very good idea. I've read all 5 drafts. The newest draft came out today, and it is 400 pages, and we're talking about rezoning the whole city. And I guess, as Councilor Erpenbach pointed out, only us geeks really have read it, and I take that with pride. And so there's a lot of people that probably don't understand just yet, and they just need to get informed before we pass this. Normally with rezonings, you would get, you'd have to send out letters, and we're talking about rezoning the whole city. We can't send out letters to everybody. So people need to have a little bit of time to take this in and have a little feedback. Number two, if you look on the screen here, there's a change that has not been really mentioned, I don't think, and I don't have a problem with it, but I think people need to be aware of it, those who live in RS1 districts. And the reason is because RS1 and RS2 districts, which are two residential districts, are being merged together. And the RS1 district is going to take essentially what the RS2 district has. It's going to become a little bit more dense. So as an example, in Roosevelt Valley, where I used to live over by Keene Park, most of that is our RS1, big setbacks, big yards. And that is going to change. So you're going to get what's called more buildable areas. So if you look at the screen here, in any lot, you've got the required front yard, the required rear yard, the required side yards. And in RS1, you have 7-foot side yards, 30-foot front yard, 30-foot rear yard, and then the area inside is where you can build and you can put parking pads and do things like that. With the adoption of this ordinance, suddenly everybody's going to have 2 feet more on each side, and they're going to have 5 feet on the front and the back, which means things that you couldn't have done before, such as putting on a garage addition, putting on a covered porch, things like that you just didn't have enough setback, now you will. So that may be good for you, but that also means your neighbor can do it too. Maybe you're not going to be that happy about it. But at least everybody gets it equitably. There will be no special exceptions. It's not a variance or anything like that where one person gets it and somebody else doesn't. Everybody gets it. But it's one of those little things I think everybody should be aware of. So you're going to see that. The last one, the really contentious item, temporary boulevard signs and signs. I was at the Planning Commission last week. I saw 3 city councilors there. There's a lot of discussion about this and doing some research on this, which is dangerous because I'm trying to play lawyer, I guess. It appears that from what the city attorney says, that when it comes to signs, that they need to be content neutral. And from what I've been able to find, that seems to be true. We can't make regulations that are content-based, meaning we can't say for sale sign is okay, but you can't have another sign about, we buy houses or something like that. So that seems to be the sticking point with temporary boulevard signs. It needs to be an all or none deal. We either have to just allow all signs in the boulevard or none. We can't just say, well, you can have a garage sale sign, but you can't have we buy houses. So the proposal that I had seen seemed reasonable. The signs were small, but it seems like we just apparently can't do it. And if I have to choose between all signs in the boulevard versus no signs, I guess I'll choose no signs. And I think if your city attorney tells you that you're going to have some legal problems doing it, I don't think it would be responsible to pass such an amendment. That's not in the code right now, but there's amendments kind of floating around. So I wanted to point that out. The only other thing I guess I would point out related to the sign ordinance when it comes to the temporary boulevard signs, we have a bit of a problem because right now we have lots of garage sale signs, and having lived in Kingswood Valley, people are very passionate about their garage sales, and they're stuck in the boulevard all the time, and I'll admit it, in previous years we did it too. And we weren't necessarily aware of it years ago that we shouldn't be doing it. And you also have realtors putting signs in the boulevard. And so we have a bit of an issue. What are we going to do if we leave the ordinance as it is? They're technically illegal, but I don't think we're enforcing it except by maybe complaint, which is how most of these things are applied. Well, it doesn't seem fair to not enforce that ordinance, but then we go enforcing other ordinances. That puts, I think, your staff in a difficult position, and it makes citizens probably think things are a little unequal. So I think we need to think about what we're going to do about it, but it would seem we don't have really good options. So with that, that's all I have tonight. Thank you very much.
Greg, very, very good job. And thanks for being so passionate and taking the time to read all that stuff. It's great. Would anybody else want to speak to the council? Well, very good. Thanks very much. We appreciate it. We'll now move on. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Councilor Staggers.
Right. I was just wondering, I think Greg brought up some very good points here, but, let's face it, there are other cities that have signs out. And all of a sudden, we are being, very Puritan, so to speak, saying, nope, we can't have any signs or anything like that at all. I don't think that's the way to go. I think we ought to possibly talk some more about this.
Councilor Sayers, I think we are certainly planning that in an upcoming meeting, whether it be the first reading, the second reading, and there's going to be much more dialogue to come. So yes, I would certainly encourage that, and I'm sure the rest of the council will too. Thank you. Item number 13.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Section 32.022 of Chapter 32, City Organizations to reflect updated title of Internal Audit Manager.
Good evening, City Council. Rich Oaksel, a lead internal auditor. However, this ordinance, if it passes, would change my title to Internal Audit Manager. This has gone through Audit Committee. We've had the discussion. They've endorsed it and moved it on to the full council. There was also another change that needed to be made. In the previous ordinance, there was a section there about myself having a secondary reporting relationship with the city clerk. So that would just clean up that. In principle, right now, I report to the chair of the audit committee, and that's what the org chart says. So this would just kind of clean that up and make that clear that there isn't a dotted line from my position to the city clerk. It's just a solid line from myself to the audit committee, and I would consider my boss would be the chair of that audit committee. So it's the title change and then that reporting relationship. So.
Thank you, Reg. With that in mind, would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, February 19th at 7 p.m. for this item?
So moved, Aguilar.
Second, Jamison.
Councilor Aguilar has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Jamison. Any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 7-0. Folks, any new business? One thing we normally introduce students that are here that are kind enough to come and learn. Would you folks mind just telling us where you're from? And then we'll put you on camera, and then we'll end the meeting. Welcome.
My name is Jennifer Schultz, and I am a part of a group called the YWCA Women's Leadership Program.
Right.
And so those are several of my participants we're all in the group, and it's us learning more about city council and how city government works. So we're happy to be here.
Well, welcome. Thanks for coming. And you just witnessed one of the more brief meetings we've ever had in the history of Sioux Falls. With that in mind, any other new business, Council?
Move to adjourn, Urbanbach.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Urbanbach's made a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting, seconded by Councilor Karski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Sioux Falls.